Hello and welcome. So who were the Red Shadows? Well, they were created back in the early 1980s by a UK toy manufacturer called Palitoy. And they were to be the protagonists in a new toy line based on their Action Man series called Action Force, whom I've previously covered in a previous video. The Red Shadows were a terrorist organisation created by the evil genius, the Baron Ironblood, who had dreams of world domination. The Baron would recruit men into his organisation with the false promises of riches and a life of adventure. And then upon arrival, these recruits would then be subjected to the Baron's mind control and hypnosis techniques, a process that he had perfected throughout the years. This would turn these recruits into deadly brainwashed fanatics who were willing to sacrifice themselves for the Baron, screaming as they charge into battle, "Blood, blood for the Baron!" We would first be introduced to the Baron and his Red Shadows in an issue of IPC magazine's weekly comic called Battle. In the story Action Force, we would see the Baron and his Red Shadows invade the Ascendancy Island, which was a small, newly formed state under the protection of the United Nations. The Shadows soon make quick work of the local forces, taking control of the island. It is then that the Baron contacts the United Nations, threatening to detonate a super bomb he has created unless his demands are met. Action Force are deployed to stop the Baron, but it is a tough fight, as these faceless fanatics in red seem to have no fear, often sacrificing themselves in mass suicide attacks, similar to the tactics used by the Japanese during World War II. This was making the Red Shadows a very deadly opponent indeed. Like most tin pot despots, the Baron had his own inner circle within the Red Shadow organisation. There was his second in command and most fanatical follower, the Black Major, with Red Vulture, Red Laser, Red Wolf and Red Jackal acting as his subordinates. I have already covered the Baron in a previous video, so I'm just going to concentrate on the Red Shadow organisation for this one. First up, we have the Baron's second in command, the Black Major. He was, before his brainwashing, a man named John Shepherd who was born in England. As a youth, he was always very competitive and always wanted to be the best of the best. This led him joining the Royal Marines when he left school, and he soon became a lieutenant and a highly skilled fighter. This would lead to him being noticed by Action Force, who were looking to recruit the best of the best for their new terrorist organisation. Unfortunately, the first mission he went on was a failure, with him being captured by the Baron and subjected to the Baron's mind control techniques. The Baron was so impressed with Shepherd that it would make him his second in command and give him the new name, the Black Major. With this new identity, the Black Major would become the Baron's most devoted follower, assisting with the Baron with the recruitment of more Shadows as well as rousing them into a fanatical fury. Totally emotionless, the Black Major will carry out the Baron's orders without question, making him a very deadly opponent indeed. Okay, now for the Baron's subordinates. First we have Red Vulture, who is the Red Shadow's top shadow track driver. He would wear the same uniform as the Red Shadows, but with the addition of black gloves. This was because he was willing to join the organisation and the Baron did not have to use the full power of his mind control techniques on him. Little is known about the Red Vulture, but what we do know is that he once lived in France and was a top getaway driver for a top gang in Paris. This is where he became an expert in explosives and the use of small caliber weapons. He is an expert mechanic with the ability to repair any type of engine. He was also involved in the design of the Red Shadow's Shadow Track, which was a fast 8-wheeled armoured vehicle with twin photon burst engines, armed with 2 seek and destroy missiles and 2 laser-guided multi-repeat machine guns. It also had seating for 4 extra personnel. Red Vulture is completely without remorse and mercy. Okay, next up we have Red Laser, who is the Red Shadow's laser weapon specialist. His standing in the Baron's inner circle can be seen in the design of his uniform. As it differs from the standard Red Shadow uniform, the only similarity being the skull and crossbones motif and the colour red. His birthplace and name are classified, but what we do know is that he was formerly a student at Tokyo University, studying advanced laser technology before becoming disillusioned with the Japanese government. This would lead him to joining a Japanese terrorist group, and this is where he would learn about the Baron and be corrupted by dreams of power. He would go on to join the Red Shadows and was subjected to the Baron's brainwashing. Red Laser developed the Laser Exterminator, which was one of the Red Shadow's deadliest weapons. It was a towable twin laser artillery piece with advanced CRT targeting systems, and it was capable of reaching targets in the outer atmosphere. The lasers ran on a 30-hour life cycle and could be quickly replaced. Red Laser is totally corrupt and brainwashed by the Baron to accept the slightest of commands from him. Okay, next we have Red Wolf, who's the Red Shadow's advanced air and space combat pilot. His name and birthplace are also classified, but what we do know is that he was part of NASA's space program and that he had a friendly rivalry with Action Force's Moondancer. This was before being court-martialed for corruption. He was blackmailed into the service of the Baron and is his most reluctant servant. He is solely driven by the relentless desire to prove himself better than Moondancer in every way possible. This quest for revenge has unhinged his mind, making him a very dangerous character. He was the Robo-School pilot, which was a two-seat fighter capable of suborbital spaceflight. The fighter was designed with the visage of a skull, terrifying its enemies as it screamed into battle. It was armed with laser cannons and heavy machine guns. Last of all, we have the Red Jackal, who was the Red Shadow's top hyena tank driver. His name was Anton Novikov and he was born in Latvia. He was also formerly a member of Action Force before a fateful encounter with the Red Shadows. While out for a drive, he was ambushed by the Red Shadows and critically injured. The Shadows were going to leave his body to the Vultures and the Jackals until the Baron interceded and demanded that they bring his body back to him. Once back near to death, the Baron's top cybernetic scientist would rebuild him. He would be given a new bionic skull with enhanced bionic vision, and they would also enhance his legs and his arms. They would also give him electrovolt capability in his hands, so making even handshaking deadly. He would also undergo brainwashing and be given the new identity, the Red Jackal. The Red Jackal drove the Red Shadow's hyena tank, which was a fast, heavily armoured track vehicle with a 360-degree fire arc and twin 50mm cannons. Right, that's the Baron's inner circle dealt with. Now let's have a look at the rank and file units of the organisation. The Red Shadows made up the bulk of the organisation. These brainwashed fanatics are at the Baron's beck and call, willing to follow out whatever command is given, no matter the cost. They were recruited from the dregs of society, criminals, mercenaries and so on. Filled with false promises of riches and power, they would flock to the Baron. Where upon arrival, they would be subjected to the Baron's brainwashing and mind control. They would then be subjected to a series of tests, and these would be very dangerous and often life-ending. The Baron did this so he could weed out the weak, so only the strong survived. For those who survived, they are ready to join the ranks of the Red Shadows, loyal fanatics whose only goal is to serve the Baron. Blood, blood, blood for the Baron! Right, next we have the Red Shadow's Muton. These are androids created by the Baron as a way to help him further his plans of world domination. These programmable death machines could operate in any environment. They were also extremely powerful and they were constructed from the strongest materials known to man, making them almost indestructible. This, however, would also make them extremely expensive to build, so only a handful of mutons have been created, and they are used very sparingly by the Baron. Scientists at Action Force are still trying to find ways of stopping these machines of death. Next we have the Kraken. This creature was discovered accidentally by the Baron and the Black Major while on operations in the North Pole. After falling down an ice crevasse, they stumble across a creature that seems to be in suspended animation in the ice. The Baron decides they will come back for this monstrosity once they get out. The Baron is true to his word and sends an expedition to recover this creature. and upon its return the Baron would use his top genetic scientists to extract its DNA so he can create his own army of clones. The Baron names these creatures the Kraken after the mythical beast from Norway. These creatures are as deadly on land as they were in the sea. They possess near superhuman strength and use shock blasters and stun nets to neutralise their enemies. Fearsome undersea creatures that will strike terror into the hearts of anyone they encounter. Next up we have an escape suit created by the Baron Ironblood to get him safely out of any critical situation that may arise. The Red Shadow escape armour was a self-propelled escape suit. It was made from the strongest materials known to man, and it can withstand most missile attacks. The suit contains highly sophisticated sensors that can detect enemy personnel and vehicles through audio radar and infrared warning systems. It is programmed to attack anyone without the proper IFF device, and it can also be equipped with a remote control claw, a flamethrower, a machine gun or a missile launcher. The Baron always has a suit on standby wherever he goes, just in case. The Red Shadows would continue to be Action Force's main protagonist until 1985, as unfortunately Palitoy had fallen on hard times and had to end their Action Force toy line. Hasbro, however, would pick up the Action Force name, replacing Palitoy's Action Force with their own G.I. Joe toy line under the name of Action Force, with their new enemy, Cobra. So in Battle Comics, we would see the Baron betray the Red Shadows to Action Force, leaving them to form his own new terror organisation called Cobra. This would not be the end of the Red Shadows, as the surviving Shadows, who had not been killed or captured by Action Force, were now free from the Baron's mind control, and the Black Major, Red Laser and Red Vulture, with the rest of the surviving Shadows, were now out for revenge. They would continue to make appearances in Battle Action Force till IPC magazines lost the licence to Marvel UK in 1987, as Hasbro completed the transition from Action Force to G.I. Joe. So Palitoy's Action Force, Baron Ironblood and the Red Shadows were no more. Now, as far as I was concerned, that was the end of the Red Shadows. But in the year 2005, Devil's Due Publishing would introduce a new faction to the G.I. Joe universe, and this would be the Red Shadows. As you can imagine, this created a lot of excitement, but these Red Shadows were nothing at all like their previous counterparts. This caused quite a lot of controversy, and so much so that a website devoted to the history of Action Force, called Blood for the Baron, petitioned the comic asking them to retcon the Shadows to that of their previous counterparts from 83 to 84. I always liked the Red Shadows as the main protagonists, they just seem that bit more deadly than Cobra. Don't forget, the Red Shadows were willing to sacrifice themselves for the cause. Granted, they had been brainwashed by the Baron to do so, but I can't imagine a worse enemy to face than someone who has no fear of death. It's a shame what happened to Palitoy, as I feel they created a fantastic enemy with the Baron and the Red Shadows. And I know it's fantasy, but I'd love to see the Red Shadows get the classified treatment and turned into 6-inch figures. Maybe it could be done as an anniversary set or something, who knows. I'm sure you could kit bash the Baron and the Black Major from various figures already out there. The Red Shadows would be easy, just look at the Crimson Guards, they are near enough the same, quick repaint here and there, new head, Bob's your uncle. Red Laser, easy again, could be a repaint of the Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander from the HasLab His Tank. And Red Jackal is a quick repaint of Destro. So it can be done, but the chances of Hasbro doing it are slim to say the least. Maybe Bobby V from Valaverse could lead the way. After all, Valaverse does use the Action Force name. Anyway, enough of me drivelling on. That's all from me now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave any of your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. Until next time then, stay safe and yo Joe!